This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pingrack. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Duck and Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Wednesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I, we are going to talk about bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, except I have YouTube pulled up apparently. So now I'm hearing you intro the show, and I can't find the tab on where it is. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I have no idea.
I'm hearing like a double echo here. I'm gonna have to close down everything except the main show. Hold on, I'm gonna have to go through and troubleshoot this.
We just
boom, I got it right there. We're fixed.
Okay.
Well, because I had YouTube pulled up from yesterday's show.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? And then I can't have it muted because I'm listening to you, and then I heard you, and then it was, hey, everybody, it's Bass Talk Live. Welcome, I'm Mark Jeffries.
No,
but then it was like 5 seconds after you said it, so we're off to a rousing start on the third day of the week here. But we got a good show today. We got Reehm. I need to start the show, Mark, by saying I got it wrong yesterday. It's not everything.
On what?
They're doing the best 5 for the title out there at lacrosse, but they are doing it MLF format. I'm assuming so everybody can get more camera time as far as splitting it up into Group A and Group B and then having an elimination round and then a final round. And the winners of the first 2 rounds go on to the final round, from what I understand. So Mike McClellan is in the catbird seat.
Group A.
In Group A, right. And they had a fog delay in Group B. But it is their best 5. They're still not catching them very good. He only had like 13 pounds. It's like pretty rough out there.
It's kind of brutal.
Yeah, but that's our championship. That is the tournament formerly known as the Forest Wood Cup.
Yeah.
Except they got rid of the cup and they gave them a belt, and then they got rid of the name Forest Wood Cup, and they just decided, let's just name it a title similar to what Cleveland should have done with their baseball team and just called it the Cleveland Baseball Club.
Man, you are on a roll this morning. As you mentioned, good show today. We're going to have Clark on, and he's kind of been – I classify him as a grinder. Is that a good 100%. Description?
Yeah, he's in his 8th year with the FLW. Now I'm totally screwed. He's in his 8th year with the MLF Pro Circuit, but then he fished the Elite Series for like 6 years too. Like I said, I remember when I first got into this for collegiate event and stuff. I was over at the ATI, the Arkansas Tech Invitational. That was a big collegiate tournament back then, and Clark came and talked to us and stuff, and he was, just getting into the professional ranks then. So over 15 years, he does all sorts of stuff. He's very active online as far as like selling, moving baits, things like that. He has one of the forefront of guys who actually have kind of developed a learning / guiding business to where it's not just about, hey, let's go out and catch fish. It's like, let me teach you about electronics. Let me help you break down lakes, things like that. I believe it's called the Elite Angler Academy. Big into mapping, graphing, stuff like that. And then he even said he'd be willing to talk about football. So we should have a good one with him.
All right. Hey, I have 2 questions for you today that I was thinking about yesterday. Yep. The first question is, we got into a discussion about the month of September. And I said, look, the month of September is, for me and for a lot of people, the absolute toughest month to put some stuff together. I don't think I ever asked you, what is your toughest month?
Toughest month as far as
catching fish.
Dude, so here's the deal. So for so many years, and I don't know if I've actually broken this down. Like, if you've noticed, like if you go back for the last 7 or 8 years, like I have a really good dinger tournament in the fall. So like Bass Nation Championships, like I've been in the hunt on that. The U.S. Open stuff, the Costa, which was Costa at the time, the Costa Championship, the Neely Henry Open. Like every year, if you not notice, like in the fall, like I'll have and that's what you used to call me, like lucky. Remember, you'd be like, "Oh, you're the golden child." You wait to the end of the year, and then you hit a big one. But there's a reason for this. It's because since I started working for you, for the pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn, I was always on the road. Like I never got to fish. Like I was always covering guys like Clark and covering the Elite Series and the FLW and going to media events and things like that. So my fishing ended up in the fall. So my toughest time over the last, 2 years, 3 years that we haven't gone to every single event has been actually fishing from that pre-spawn to post-spawn transition when everybody loves to fish is my toughest time, because while I've written about it and observed it and watched it and everything, it's like I haven't spent billions of hours on the water, like seeing all the different scenarios that could happen. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does a little bit, but you continue to kick my butt every time we go head to head. So, and that's always been in the spring, but I think I was more specifically, I get it, October, November, and December. That's really the fall. The month of September is transition. That's what I was specifically asking you, whether or not that month is brutal for you and what month.
No, I like those.
You like September? Are you out of your mind?
Because I've been able to fish in September for the past 12 years while everyone else is getting ready for hunting.
Yeah.
Hey, and it's very conducive to dinking and dunking and smaller baits and
That it is. Hey, Brian wants to know why we stopped going to events. That's a simple question to answer. 2 reasons: money, and the fact that the vast majority of the information was being covered by the entity itself. One of the things that we took a lot of pride on when we were out there on the Elite Series, every single event, we were doing things that other people weren't doing. We were doing live. We were doing photos from the water. We were doing, live message board updates, live chat on the water. And then all of a sudden people went, wow, what's going on here? So then Bass stepped up their game and came out with the live coverage and really, really stepped up their coverage. So the only advantage that somebody could really get by being out there is maybe you find a little nugget that the entity may not have found. And the odds of that happening, very, very, very slim.
And the odds of that being worth the money and time.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I spent multiple years of my life. Like, by the time you do, 15 events a year and then extrapolate that out, literally it's Groundhog Day. Every single day, over and over again, talking to the same people about the same tournament stuff. And when you can turn on a TV and watch it live, it's cool when there was no one else doing it and stuff. But man, plus, it just gets tiring. It's just the same thing over and over and over.
Well, it wasn't a matter of boredom. I took a business approach of it. It was just simply because we would have lost money if we would have continued to do that. We had to become more innovative and create a better product without being there, and that's what we did. And by the way, Brian, I was the first dude to do the live chat from the water. That was the event that I've mentioned numerous times about Steve Kennedy. When Steve Kennedy was breaking the record, I was actually reporting that live from the water on Clear Lake. So, there was a lot of stuff out there technology-wise that you had to overcome numerous hurdles to make sure that stuff was good, make sure it worked, make sure it was quality. And as technology got better, the entities themselves jumped on board, and they had the resources, they had the staffing, they had everything to give us and the fans everything that both organizations puts out there today. So that's a long answer to a short question.
What an interesting opening to the show.
It was just kind of there. Now, the other question I have for you, dude, I want you to be honest here. What is the longest you have ever stayed on hold on the phone for something that you were trying to either get done or order or whatever? How many minutes?
I would venture to say the longest is less than an hour, Mark. Are you still on hold?
No, I got that taken care of this morning. But yesterday was my record. All right, we're back to school, and I'm trying to get some stuff set up for the school's live streams, and I'm doing the coach's show and all kinds of other things. I was on hold for 2 hours and 14 minutes. Wow. I just set my phone down, just laid it there while we did work in class.
That's like the length of a Wednesday nighter.
2 hours and 14 minutes, and still didn't get my problem solved.
Wow. Did you lay into the first real person that you talked to?
I was not happy. And
I'd have taken the opposite approach because you wouldn't have to go through that all over again.
Oh my gosh, 2 hours and 14 minutes. And then when I described the situation that I was taking place, guess what happens? Well, Mr. Jeffries, we're going to have to take that to level 2. Oh, so I waited 2 hours and 14 minutes to get taken to level 2. Well, I got news for you. I'm at DEFCON 1, and I'm not happy.
Now. You're yelling about it. Just
Dude,
talking
I
about
was. Now, if I wouldn't have had the capabilities of just setting the phone down in class.
And you've never gone nuts on someone on the water? With the voice up like that, like you do on the phone with the service calls?
Sometime. No. I mean...
You've never...
No, not really. Not anything memorable.
Wow, that's surprising to me.
No. I'm just kind of very respectful. I don't like controversy. I don't like conflict and all that on the water. I know that surprises you.
No, okay, not on the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just on the phone.
Well, off the water too, I guess. All right, the last thing that I want to mention, and then we're going to take a break and come back with Clark Reehm. Matt Looney.
Yes.
Sent me an email. Yeah, sent me an email.
Lithium's out now.
Yes, they do. That they do. Anyway, he sent me an email.
Local battery outfitters.
And I did a little research on this, and he has a very, very cool charitable thing going on. And we don't normally do this, but I really think this is very cool, obviously, with all the challenges that I have from a health standpoint. This thing that he has is called Bass for Beckers. Mm-hmm. And it's completely legit. It's a 501c3 nonprofit where he's helping kids struggling with muscular dystrophy. And I'm going to throw this up because you can actually have an opportunity. Let's see here. There's the website right there. You can actually have an opportunity to win, I guess, the boat he's using. Is that right?
I believe so.
It's a 2021 Skeeter.
Gives it away. He does a drawing for it at the end of every year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think this organization has been around, this charity has been around since 2017. And it's pretty cool because you can actually buy tickets. They have raffles. They give away prizes every month. And then the grand prize is his 21-foot Skeeter. I forget what model it was. But no, it was 2019 when he
started it.
Yeah, the tickets are $25 a piece. And what's really cool, the very first year that they did it, they were able to raise over $100,000 for this cause to have these funds go toward muscular dystrophy and helping kids and the situations that take place with the challenges in having this terrible disease.
Holy cow. There are monthly prize winners.
Yeah, it's great.
Have you seen what the monthly prize winners are?
Yeah, hang on. Let me.
And 2 8-foot power pole blades. That was February.
Yeah.
March was a hydraulic jack plate. April was an HDS 12 Live.
Yeah.
June was a Traeger.
Yeah, I'm showing that right now.
July was a $1,000 shopping spree at Bayworks.
Very cool. So, if you get the opportunity, please check out what Matt has going on with that. Just a fabulous cause. And I know he spends a lot of time. There's a lot of people involved with this that make it happen. And once again, just a very, very cool outreach to help those that are challenged with that terrible disease in muscular dystrophy. So please, folks, all the fans out there, check out bassforbeckers.com.
And FXR20.
That's what the grand prize is. So bassforbeckers.com. Check it out. Buy some tickets. Help out a great cause. And you have an opportunity to win monthly prizes and also win that grand prize.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's cool stuff. What did somebody say? Mark's a big dude and he wants to argue with the...
No one will argue with you on the water because you're a big dude. Like, why would you want to argue with Mark on the water?
Seriously,
Mark's a big dude. Who wants to argue on the water with him?
I think maybe once or twice I really got into it. And this was many, many, many years ago. Many years ago. Off the water, different story. But on the water...
Would you approach people about your on the water confrontations off the water?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you... It's not like you just let it, like water off a duck's back. You would be like, we're not going to deal with it now. We're going to wait until we're in the parking lot and everyone's around, and then I'm going to raise my voice.
Yeah, that happened a few times.
Do you remember your best fight? Your best parking lot
typical
disagreement?
Rant. Typical rant.
You don't remember a specific, like, did you ever go up against, like, Robert DeGraffenreid? You were like, Bobby, you need to have a chat.
No.
Your champion over there.
No.
Come on up to the purple skeeter.
No. There were some discussions, very, very professional discussions with they weren't co-anglers because remember back then, I don't know what it's like. You share it.
That was stupid.
Half a day, you, half a day.
So stupid.
There were some quite entertaining discussions that went on during that. So
you don't have one good parking lot.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Not really. No.
I can't tell what. Well, I guess no, because you were giving out Smith Action Optics like candy to everyone back then, and everyone wanted to be on Team Basso, didn't they?
Oh, man. How many years ago was that? Jeez, that's 20-something years ago. That's a long time ago.
You were giving out salt craws and sunglasses.
Salt craws and sunglasses. That was it. And we went to Lake Fork, and we had the baddest jerseys out of anybody back then. That was way before sublimation. Way before it. Now, the color scheme, it's a little sketchy. Yellow, white, purple, and black.
Yellow, white. Yeah, I've got that hat. Is that hat behind you up there on the top? The yellow, white, purple, and black?
Yeah, it's up there. The original.
That thing is ugly.
Quite loud. Quite loud. Yeah. Anyway, folks, if you do get a chance, please check out bassforbeckers.com and help Matt out and all the fine people that are working on that project over there. Really, really cool thing. Good stuff. All right, Matt, anything else?
No, that's it. I'm ready to get to Clark.
All right, let's take a break. Come back with Clark Reehm here on a Wednesday. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Elite FS puts the full range of Lowrance fish finding tools at your fingertips. Find fish with active imaging 3-in-1 with Fish Reveal. Target fish with active target live sonar and watch fish react to your lure as it happens. Built-in C-Map Contour Plus charts make it easy to find key fishing areas. But best-in-class charts and powerful sonar is only the beginning. It's easy to build your fully networked FS system. From sonar and waypoint sharing to controlling the Ghost trolling motor and power poles. Lowrance Elite FS. Targeting fish just got easier.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Everybody loves to chase bass on the water. But is your most valuable asset protected when it's not on the water? Empire Covers can preserve your bass boat against even the harshest conditions. When the storm is coming, that bass boat needs to be protected. Check out EmpireCovers.com for all your cover needs. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution when it comes to protecting that asset. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution in easy protection for your truck, for your boat, for your car, anything that needs to be protected from the elements. BTL listeners can receive free shipping plus an extra 15% off their entire order on EmpireCovers.com. Just use the promo code BTL at checkout. Empire Covers. Protect what you love.
The Little John family of crankbaits designed by top tour pro John Cruz have excelled at catching bass in any condition for years. They all feature a flat-sided design and paint jobs that are seldom seen in mass production bait. The Little John family also expands with new rattling versions of the Little John 50 and Little John 50 MD. Both of these baits are proven fish catchers that will now be available in rattling versions for stained and muddy water. They feature the same great action and diving depths as the original 50 and MD sizes.
The Ned Rig. What rod should I be using with the Ned Rig? My favorite is the Denali Lithium multi-spin rod. It's our 7'4" length. Great Ned Rig rod. It's got a great sensitive tip on it. It's long enough where I can make long casts, which you're usually fishing clear water with a Ned Rig, and it's got enough backbone to get those fish in. So check it out. Denali Lithium Series 7'4" multi-spin.
All right, we are back. Mark and Matt on a Wednesday. And it is time to go to our special guest. And when's the last time you saw Clark? You remember?
Yeah, at Texas, down there at the last Open in the end of 2020. Louisville. So I don't know how I forget the name of that juggernaut. Sorry. I ran into him on the water. Remember, I told you he gave me some baits at Neely Henry the year before, and then I saved them and gave them back. They were hard baits, and then I trolled over and gave them back to him, and he didn't recognize me at first. He was giving me the eye, like, who the heck is this guy that's like coming over to my boat? And then he realized it was me, and I said, hey, thanks for letting me borrow those baits. Here they are back. And then he was like, look at how much work I've done for this tournament. And I was like, you're going to kick my butt based on his crafting. And then we both got Louisville. He was in a similar situation. He catches them at Louisville. He has a shot at the Elite Series this year. And we both finished like 100th.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how that went down.
Well, that's a good memory then.
If I remember correctly.
Bad situation, good memory, I guess. All right, let's bring him in. Clark, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going good. It's been a while since I've seen you, unlike Matt in that juggernaut performance.
Yeah, Matt makes the rounds.
Yeah, but we appreciate you taking time out. And when I saw that Matt had booked you, I thought, hey, that's pretty cool, because I've always thought of you, and I even mentioned it at the intro of the show, that you are kind of the grinder, the guy that's been able to survive and really capture what is necessary to survive in this game, both on and off the water. So is that continuing to thrive? Are you still grinding? What can you tell us, man?
Man, it's one of those deals that, I use the term journeyman. My wife hates that term, but there's a lot of us that fall into that category. This year I roomed with Matt Reed on the MLF Pro Circuit. James Niggemeyer is another perfect example. There's a lot of us. Kurt Dove's another one. We've all been around for a long time. We're kind of like that lower B-level pro angler, and there's a lot of B-level anglers. We're probably the B minuses, as far as skill sets or finishes. And there's only a handful of superstar A-level guys, but it's one of those things that you live year by year. It's a struggle and it's a grind. A lot of it has to do with what your sponsorship portfolio looks like every year. COVID hit a lot of us really hard. Restructuring of tours took a toll on a lot of us as well. Some of that, has more to do with who you're friends with, what benefits you bring to the table and everything else. But, it's one of those things I've always said, my goal was never to win a Bassmaster Classic. It's not to win tournaments. It's to make a living doing this. And my rookie season on the Elites was 2008. And so, I've made a couple Bassmaster Classics, multiple Forest Wood Cups. It's just like you said, a grind deal that you do what you can every year. But there's a big difference. Like right now, the MLF Pro Circuit Championship's going on, and I didn't qualify for it. That missing out of that $10,000 for just being there is a massive hit on a guy like me. For a lot of guys, it's a difference in going to vacation to Jamaica or going to Florida to the beach. For me, it's a matter of, okay, how hard do I have to work in the off season to make ends meet and to make a career out of doing this?
Matt?
Well, yeah, one of the things that I've always liked about you is you've always had some side stuff going on, which is something that, not side stuff, but I get multiple revenue streams would be the way that Jeffrey's in his business world would approach that. Sounds more professional that way. But you know what I mean? Like, because I'm kind of the same way. Like, hey, I can get some stuff from over here and over here and over here. And then as long as all three of these streams work, we're good. We're rolling. We're fishing.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things, like, you've always kind of taken it upon yourself, whether it was like design stuff or lures or selling and flipping, or like this Elite Angler Academy. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot of recently are professional anglers and non-professional anglers who are offering, hey, like experience trips, like you want to learn how to do stuff. It's not just, hey, we'll go out and catch fish. It's not like a guide trip. It's more of like an educational on the water learning experience. And that's kind of something that you've really put into your repertoire that's been pretty successful for you over the past decade.
Yeah. I've got a new deal now that I talk about, where if you're doing your job right as a pro angler, that's no longer your title. You're an entrepreneur. I don't know how these guys go hunting all off season or get to go home and spend time with their family. It's, you figure out ways to make money and try and be successful. And a lot of us are trying to hit that lick where we make that pile to, to make up for the years that are bad or whatever else. And it, just like I touched on, it comes out of necessity a lot of times where you didn't make the championship, or, I only made 3 checks this year instead of 4 or 5, so it makes the dynamic of the off season there. And that's how I actually came up with this Elite Angler Academy. It was about 2012 timeframe, and I was seriously struggling. It was I think it was the year before I dropped out of the elites. Dropped out to go after custody of my son. So now I'm, single dad, need to make money and everything else all the time. And, I thought, okay, I could guide, but I'm learning a lot of this stuff as I go. And there's a need for that. People want to learn. And it was kind of that turning point also in my career where I learned how to use my graphs, how to use, Google Earth, how to go out and do research and everything else. And, there's a lot of people have a jaded view whenever they make it to the pro level, or at least in that window, because we kind of have these generations of tournament guys at the pro level. There was kind of that jaded view of, okay, I can catch fish. Let me go out. I'm as good as these guys. And you realize real quick that you're not. So you got to figure out how to get better. And so as I started learning how to utilize resources and technology, I thought, well, hey, why don't I start teaching people how to do this stuff as well? I've got a graphic design degree. So it's enabled me to make visuals or hand draw stuff to teach from. I am probably one of the most tech savvy guys on tour. And, we were joking about that when we first came on because we couldn't get my audio to work and everything else. But it's one of those things that I focus on trying to figure out that niche. And if I can teach people how to get better, because that is the future of fishing. There's that disconnect between some of these veteran guys that it seems like they're being left in the dust, for lack of a better term, and then you got these guys that kind of started in the late 2000s, early 2010s, as opposed to the new crop of guys, because the information flows on how to get better. Back in the day, it was all secretive. And now it's like with Bass Zone and other websites, and I don't even want to say magazines, because when you've been out here, you realize these magazines are garbage. It's people selling stuff. I mean, I've sat in the truck with guys doing interviews with writers, and I was like, you just lied to that guy. You didn't catch him on that bait. I've seen what's tied on the deck of your boat. Well, I got to pay the bills, right? So if you look at TV shows and magazines as people selling stuff. So what I've ended up doing is I've always kind of been a radical free thinker, a little opinionated. My mouth gets me in trouble a lot of times. But I started spending time on the water and coming up with theories on how fish behave and things I'm noticing from time on the water. Is another term that I use is there's no substitute for quality time on the water. There's a big difference in time on the water and quality time. And so if I teach people, this is what we're focusing on because this is what I've seen, this is what I've learned. I put Van Dam's kids through college. That's another one I've always said. You learn more from a butt whoop. You've learned more from a butt whooping than from a win, because when you win, you already knew it all that day. And so I'm taking the things I've learned from being on tour and getting my butt handed to me for years and implementing that and teaching people the things I've seen on the water. That's not the same regurgitated information you're reading in magazines or seeing in articles or YouTube videos. And I'm trying to put fresh content out there and make a little side money doing it.
All right. So we'll get back to how if people want to do this, they can. But you reminded me. You said so your mouth gets you in trouble. The statute of limitations is way past on this. So I want to go back and I'm trying to remember it. So it was the Elite Series that Denny won on the ARC. You know where I'm going with this, right?
Oh,
the Elite Series, Denny won on the. And if you don't want to talk about it, you can't. But it's like 12 years ago. It was one of the funniest things I think I've ever remembered on the Arkansas River, right? And that was
one of the most
honest
things you've heard.
Yes, but that was one of the ones where Denny said something about another angler to Louie and didn't realize that the dude from the newspaper was right behind him, and then the dude quoted Denny on that, and then there was something to where it was like a total debacle. Was it the weigh-in process, or there was some total debacle and you were upset? Event. Okay, the whole event. But what was it that you said where you told the reporter, quote, and you can quote me on that, and then they did quote you on it?
I remember that.
And they put that quote in the paper, and Jerry was like pissed off.
He was not happy.
Yeah. What was that whole scenario?
not my proudest moment. You know, we've all done things and said things that we regret in our lives. That whole event was a debacle. I mean, it was the Arkansas River. You know, we had problems with locks multiple days. We had barge traffic, locks. The weigh-in process, the weigh-in was in a different venue than the boat ramp. Getting around was a mess in downtown Little Rock. Parking, I mean, we're parking on the street in downtown Little Rock. I mean, it was just a whole mess.
It was like 130 degrees out.
Yeah, dead fish penalties left and right, confrontations on the water. I mean, in the same article, you know, another very, very high-profile superstar made a comment also that was equivalent. But I get a call from Jerry McInnes, several, you know, and look, if he was standing there, he couldn't have told you Clark Reehm was. That's how big a blip on the radar I was to him. And, you know, he called me after it was over and was like, hey, I don't want people like you fishing the Elite Series. I'm like, okay. I mean, the only conversation I've ever had with a man. And I'm like, okay, so I speak my mind the one time, and there's so many other pro anglers that get to speak their mind and whatever. And I guess in the pecking order of everything else, because at the time I was probably a C-level guy on tour, you know. So and then you get one of the top 3 mega superstars at the time in the same article. I'm sure he didn't get a phone call. He gets a high five because they promoted it.
It was the greatest fishing article in a newspaper. It was in like the Little Rock Times, and it was the one where it was Denny Brower calling out JVD is what it was. This is a long time ago, but he wasn't even upset.
This is where hole jumping was as prevalent as it is now, where you could be fishing a freaking piling right now, and somebody's going to pull up and help you cast the other side of the stick. I mean,
so
and it was
half of the article is hearsay of what this reporter, who Denny wasn't talking to, Denny was talking off the record to Louie, and this reporter. So that's half the article, and then the other half is Clark Reehm going, "This is the worst setup ever," and you can quote me on it.
Yeah. It was, yeah. You know, I mean,
those were the days.
We had just got stuck. We had just gotten stuck in the lock. I mean, the whole Arkansas River lock situation is a mess. And in fact, I think they have regulations now on tournaments being there because of the lock deal. There was a barge. It was me-ish and Ike and Ellie that ended up being late because we were in the first flight on day 3. It cost me for making the top 10 cut. I mean, it was a whole mess. You know, I had dead fish, you know, that were alive going to weigh in, you know, that all of a sudden because of traveling and doing it, and it wasn't even that far, but it was just a whole mess.
It was across the river.
It is what it is. Yeah, it was like an amphitheater type deal.
Anyway, that was a good story there.
So.
I enjoyed that one. But
I've got plenty of stories.
What's that?
It'd be interesting if a guy like me and Dave Wolak got together off the cuff and started putting the tinfoil hats on and started talking about pro angler conspiracy theories.
Wolak wore the tinfoil hats. Remember, I said that last month when we asked what was going on with Dave Wolak. So this Elite Angler Academy. I still talk to Dave. Oh, really?
Yeah. He's doing medical device sales now. Yeah, he does medical device sales. He's got a bay boat now, and I think he jackpotted some tournament. He lives over in fishes like Sharon Harris over there in North Carolina, and he showed up with his buddy, I think, out of the back of his buddy's boat, and they dominated some event, and somebody recognized them and they weren't very happy that they figured out Wolak showed up in North Carolina. Now, it wasn't like he showed up at Champlain and took everybody's money. You know, it's a lake he doesn't even fish.
Anyway, I want to go back to this Elite Angler Academy, which is where we were. So how many trips a year do you do on that? And then most of it's on Rayburn, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can tailor a trip to meet anybody's needs, but the majority of them are on Sam Rayburn. I lived down there for a long time. It's to the point now I've graphed probably 80% of Sam Rayburn, teaching graph classes in these Elite Angler Academy classes. And that's a lot of graphing. Rayburn is 114,000 acres, so that ought to tell you how much time we spent behind the wheel. And, you know, the whole premise is teaching technology and resources to find and catch more fish, because people don't realize how important the resources are for pro anglers to be successful. And I'll give you a kind of a tidbit of one of the analogies I use. It's kind of like if I told you to go find buried pirate treasure, you wouldn't even know where to begin. You're not just going to take a shovel and start digging in your yard. So you're going to look up maps. You're going to call different people that might have information about pirates. You're trying to narrow it down. And so if I told you, okay, I studied pirates in college or history, you need to go to the Caribbean. Well, you know how much of the world we just eliminated. That's no different than on the lake. If I said, hey, you need to go to the Black Forest at Sam Rayburn. Well, we just eliminated, 90% of the lake. And so then what if I said, okay, well, you need to go to the mouth of Mud Creek? Well, boom, we're narrowing it down even more. Well, the thing is, you can go out there then and you can go out and start fishing or digging on the beach there at Orange Beach, for the treasure. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you use the technology to go out and scan, you can go find every bit of that treasure. And then you use your rods and reels just like your shovel for digging it. So you got to use your technology, your tools and resources to narrow down the water, because the saying 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water, and in reality it's less than 1%, and we're trying to find that 1% that we're going to cast our bait in to be successful. Just think about it. How big is a 4-pounder? 20 inches? Okay, so if that 4-pounder is 20 inches long, what is the range that fish is going to move to eat your bait? That is the less than 1% you're trying to cast into. You ever been graphing and you're side scanning and you go a mile and you don't even see a blip on the graph?
No.
And then all of a sudden you see that one white dot out there with a shadow. Well, you're fishing Thunderbird, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you go in the graph and you see that one white speck right there on your Lowrance unit, your side imaging, okay? What percentage does that white speck take up on your entire graph? Way less than 1%. And then you forgot about the mile you just graphed, even see that one speck. So we're trying to eliminate all the water to find high percentages and things of that nature to try and expedite how fast you get on fish and your success on the water. Graphing is just part of it. Your electronics are.
What year did you move? From where? Yeah, did you move down to Louisiana from Arkansas?
So my dad was the Army. I bounced around, growing up. I went to high school in Leesville, Louisiana, which is kind of by the dam at Toledo Bend. So I kind of cut my teeth in that Toledo Bend, Rayburn area. Had a full ride to Louisiana Tech. Went to college there. My dad still bounced around me in the Army. They retired to Russellville, Arkansas, Lake Dardanelle. And again, my mom taught school. My dad, was in the Army. They didn't make a lot of money. I'm not one of the silver spoon kids. When I started out, I've had to hustle for everything. And my parents valued education. And this is before college fishing, high school fishing, and all that stuff. And so the deal was as long as I got my education, they would help me out to the capacity they could. So when I got out of college, they enabled me to move home and live with them when I was on the road the whole time fishing there at Lake Dardanelle. And it's funny because I actually spent more time sinking rock piles and brush in Dardanelle than I actually did fishing. And, and then I eventually moved from there back down to Louisiana to work for a little bit, bounced around the Rayburn area. So I've kind of bounced around Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana, through most of my adult life to some capacity. And now I currently live in Shreveport, about 3 miles from the boat ramp at the Red River. So.
Really? Someone on the instant feedback said you ran out of gas on the Red River during a guide trip?
I was in his boat. No. No, the guy that commented on that, the guy came down scouting for some federation, nation, or national championship. We went in his boat. We spent one day in pool 5, one day in pool 4, showing him around. And people don't realize when you're on a river system, you got one way to go, okay? And then when you go in that backwater, you go 3 to 6 miles over here, and then you got to drive 3 to 6 miles back around to here to get this part, and you're in and out. And yeah, you can look at the straightaway and say this is the mileage there. But we were coming, this was in January, and we had finished, and we were coming back to the ramp, and he ran out of gas 13 miles from the boat ramp at 5:30 in the evening in January.
Oh,
and
no,
he got on the
Not
trolling motor.
good.
He got on the trolling motor. I mean, it was right at dark. And I said, dude, don't even waste your time. You're not going to go 13 miles. The current was ripping. I said, we might need that to stay off rocks. I was able to call some guys, and they were able to bring us some gas about 7:30, and we made it back. And the funny thing is, my boss from Apache, I was telling him that story. A couple of days later, we were on Sam Rayburn. I was helping him for the Toyota series at Rayburn. And he ran out of gas also going back to the ramp that day. So.
Wow.
And I ran out of gas
Clark,
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, a fan on the instant feedback wants to know, as a journeyman, as a grinder, how many days a year are you spending on the road?
I tell people I spend about 1/3 of the year on the road fishing tournaments. I can't, I guess I could do the math on that, but I spend 1/3 of the year at home. My son is 10 and a half. I'm married now. Without your home front and support there, you can't do this. And you want to try and be there. And it's the biggest hurdle that guys have. And again, people don't see that. They don't see the home front stuff, whether you have problems at home or, things are great. You got to mow the yard. Your son has a soccer game, whatever else. And so, again, it puts that into perspective for all these journeymen that are age 35 to 50. Most of us have kids now. We're married. And so you're still trying to juggle the home life to be successful as well. And so your tournament season suffers because of that. But then you try and do everything at home. But because I'm also hustling when I'm home, I'm spending 1/3 of my time at Sam Rayburn guiding and teaching classes as well. Because I do 70 to 100 trips a year down at Rayburn on top of that. So, it all just juggles around. And that's why you have to be an entrepreneur and figure out ways to make money when you're at home. Because it seems like the bills just keep coming out, and you have to look at everything fishing related as a business. It's not fishing anymore. I don't go fun fishing. If I want to go fun fishing, I'm going to go, crappie fishing or brim fishing or something of that nature. So typically my boat doesn't hit the water unless I'm going to learn something or if I'm making money that day. And so trying to juggle it all as a journeyman to make things happen when you don't make, $500,000 sponsorships or $250,000 in sponsorships every year. It's just, that's life, but I wouldn't trade it.
Hey, let me ask you this, Clark. Do you think, and let me add on also, how difficult is it to go out and obtain a 6-figure sponsorship? Even back in the good days when things were good, you've been around, you've seen it.
$100,000
6 figures
for 1 year or multi-year.
Multi-years.
Okay.
Even 1 year. Okay, so this is the one thing that I've learned, because this is a question that gets asked all the time by people out there. How do you get sponsors? And I'm going to cut to the short of it here. It's who you know. Just like everything else in business. You are not going to cold call people to get deals. It doesn't happen, especially major companies. It's amazing how many people say, you need to call Coke or you need to call McDonald's. And I'm like, dude, who do you know there? You got a brother-in-law that works there? No, but it would be a good sponsorship. Well, yeah, it would. Yeah. Who do you know? Okay. Well, you don't realize how much time and money and energy you invest in trying to get these major deals. And there's so many gatekeepers on a corporate level that are able to cut your knees off. And I'm sure Frank Scalish can talk about this because he had one of the most successful sponsorship deals and when nobody was getting major deals before that, right. He had one of the most successful ones for years. And I don't know if he still has it or not, but I remember looking up to him. But it was good while it lasted. And that's just it. So many of these deals are great while they last. And I'll put it in perspective. A maybe is worse than a no, because you get strung along. And I don't know how many times I've had maybes where you've got multiple deals cooking and you're like, man, what do I do if I've got 3 title sponsors for next year? It goes to your brain because everything's going good. And then all of a sudden they go dark and they ghost you for a while. And then you start checking it out. Hey, everything okay? What, y'all need any information for me? And then you end up getting that no at the last minute. And it is one of the most frustrating things. And there's so many things that are out of your control that people don't realize on a business aspect that, what happens is you go through the people you know, and then you have to find new people to know, because that's more connections, and it's still always that hustle. And I'll give you a perspective. Last year, I had a monster deal lined up, and COVID hit. I had 2 big deals lined up, and COVID hit. And I know that seems like an excuse for everything, but on top of COVID, where I live here in Louisiana and Texas, Oklahoma range right there, there's one major source of the economy, and that's the oil field. And almost every pro angler in Louisiana and Texas has some sort of oil field affiliation. And I don't know if people remember, last year there was like one day on the calendar in March that COVID and the oil field tanked all in the same day. And it's when the Russians and the Saudis got in a pissing match. And that's when supposedly oil got less than $1 a barrel. Well, I was told by an oil field guy one time, if they're not making at least $50 a barrel, they're not making money. If they're making $49 a barrel, they're losing money. If they're making $50 a barrel, they're making money. Now, that might not be true for every company out there, but that made that deal go away. And this other deal happened. I had the deal lined up, and I was in the boat wrap place down at Showtime Signs down in Vidor, Texas. And I went through 4 phone calls in one day, and every time it got slashed. Boom, almost 6 figures to boom, 20 grand, boom, 12 grand to 0 and 4 phone calls. And we're talking like 99% done. The deal is done. And I'm like going over, this is what the boat wrap is going to look like. And this is how the payments are going to be. Is it going to be quarterly? Is it going to be monthly? Is it going to be up lump sum up front? And boom, that deal instantly went away. And it wasn't because they weren't making money. It was because of COVID then at that point, they couldn't send people to travel to do hospitality events because we were lining up events to bring in tour level pros to stay in a big house and bring in 10, 20 of their clients and doing these hospitality events and have these mini tournaments and pro events because, again, these interactive experiences that you can sell. Because, again, people don't know what you can sell and what you can't sell because saying, hey, I'm going to put a sticker on my boat or wrap my boat or truck or you get a tax write-off, those days are over. And so you have to figure out how to sell it. And we had it all figured out. And then, boom, the deal was done. And we thought, well, it's going to get tabled. And then we were going to circle back around to it. And it didn't happen. And so I lost a ton of money last March when all of it happened. My major sponsorship deal got cut because of COVID. Got cut down smaller. And every one of these tour guys can tell you stories about that. Why does a company need to sponsor a pro when they don't need customers? They need product right now. Why put those marketing dollars in there? And again, it's all that business side of it that people don't understand when they're trying to figure out this game. And so you have to hustle, and people don't realize the things that you have to do to make money nowadays. And a lot of these pros are realizing it. Pangrak, you and Holman and your whole clique of guys there hit on it. And I remember talking to Holman in the infancy of his YouTube days. And it's like, it's trial and error. And you look how many pros now are on YouTube, but the algorithms have changed. And so these guys that got in while the getting was good, like the Googans and everything else, it's changed now. So it's going to be so hard for a guy to get even 10,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers to make the YouTube money. But I do it for the inherent value to show sponsors, this is what I have to offer. Because if you get on the TV shows, say you finish 5th in a pro event, you're going to get like 2 minutes and 23 seconds of total airtime, and you're not selling anything. You're not promoting anything. It's just they're showing you catching a fish because you're wrapped up in the moment. Whereas we are making mini TV shows, and I'm able to implement my Angler Academy stuff and teach people, and it's already paid dividends, not because of the YouTube money, because it's pennies on the dollar for the time you spend, but it's, okay, these sponsors are taking notice, and I've already picked up a few more deals because of it. Side note on that also, I was the first Bass Pro on MySpace, LinkedIn.
Oh, jeez.
Do you still have a Clark?
That's how far back was going.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you this.
No. Does he still have a MySpace page? That's the question.
No.
But I was the first one on Twitter too. And Holman will tell you this. Holman and I have had this conversation because I was the first tour level pro on all these social media platforms. And it was amazing how BASS stifled that nonstop. And I heard you guys in the intro talking about the early days of Bass Zone, and I'll and your ideas would get ripped. I was there. Mark, I was your boat driver at Dardanelle the year that Duckett won that All-American or whatever it was, and Rojas. That was when Rojas lost more so than Duckett won. But it was one of those things that I remember at Lake Oneida. This is when Twitter was first coming onto the stage. And I remember asking Trip Weldon and some of the other people at Bass, hey, will you allow me to take the time in the event to live tweet on the water to do this? And absolutely not. No. That's communications, this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, it's the future of it. This is what fans want to see. This is what they want to know. They want to know the thought processes. They want to see behind the stage. They want to do all this stuff. And Bass cut my knees off to do it. And you look how now all the organizations are sitting there pushing all these guys, all the sponsors are pushing them. And you know what happened to Clark Reehm? I got burned out, because you absolutely get burned out on social media. It's so intrusive. And so you have to figure out, again, that balance, what works for you. And again, I don't have the gold star on my resume, or I wasn't promoted by any of the organizations to boost my numbers up. And again, the algorithms keep a guy like me down, younger guys down, unless they really know how to work it. And my hat's off to the guys that hustle on that side of it, because people don't realize how hard it is to make a YouTube video. It's easy to go film it, but doing all the editing and the promotion of it, everything else. Absolutely. And you can testify to this, Panger. It is so hard to get YouTube and Facebook to work with each other. And they sit there and they will throttle you back and limit the amount of views that you see. And people don't understand those algorithms. And that's how come guys like Scott and Castledine and all those guys are major YouTubers at this point were able to promote it, because as soon as they had a video that came out, they were able to put it up on Facebook or Instagram, and boom, it went out to all their fans or subscribers or friends on there. And now, I'll give you an example. I did a video with 10 tour level pros at Lake Murray on sight fishing. It's one of the most comprehensive sight fishing videos I have seen. And I'm not tooting my horn because I made it, but I learned a lot even talking to these guys, and I consider myself a sight fisherman. And I put together 5 compilation videos, these guys, asking them in-depth questions and information. I could have made a video just with Bobby Lane alone that was phenomenal. And he made the statement, I've made over $1 million catching fish off a bed, sight fishing. That's insane. And so I made a post on Facebook, and this is going to be an example of the algorithms for people that want to know why they're not seeing the content from pros they want to see. I made a post on my regular personal page, because I use it more than my fan page. And I said, I've got an interview with a pro that says he's made over $1 million sight fishing. It blew up. Had almost 200 comments on that deal. Everybody guessing who the pro was. Alton Jones, Kelly Jordan. Very few people said Bobby Lane. Rojas' name came around a lot. Had a lot of likes and everything else. The next day I posted that video, posted it on Facebook. I had 1 comment and 6 likes on the video. And I had, at the time, after a week, 400 views on that video. So that ought to tell you right there how the algorithms work and how it throttles these guys back from putting the content out there for people to see. So,
all right, Clark, simple question. And based upon what you've described during the past 30 minutes, have you been able to survive in this game because of what you've done on the water or what you've done off the water?
Everything. Just like I said, if you're doing it right, you're an entrepreneur. And the biggest, you look at the biggest names in this sport, they don't rely on fishing or sponsorships alone. Van Dam, Skeet, Iaconelli, Swindle. So those are 5 of the top 10 biggest names in fishing. They're not even the 10 percenters, they're the 1 percenters. And you look how diversified they are with video, podcast, sponsors, everything across the board, merchandising, everything else. Scott Martin, another one of the 1 percenters. And you look how diversified, and he is one of the hardest working guys in pro fishing for what he does. And it's kind of like, you ever watch Survivor Man, and that guy that would post up the camera and he'd have to do everything twice because he'd have to do it on camera, go back and get the camera, and then go do it. And that's kind of how I viewed Scott with a lot of the stuff he did. is, I mean, he's having to fish, turn around, talk, do this, and this is all in tournament time. And then he's merchandising and everything else. And so these are, Palanix, another one that's getting to that point. These are guys that are the benchmark for entrepreneurs on how to make money. I mean, Panger, you're turning an entrepreneur. Hallman, entrepreneur. You look, I mean, everything you can touch on to make money, because if you're relying on sponsors and tournament winnings alone, you are not going to make it in this industry, because as soon as you have a bad year on tour, it takes 2 good years to make up for that bad year.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was looking at your stats. You did almost $70,000 last year, and then you did $25,000 this year. So, I mean, like I said, you've got a family, you've got a home, all this stuff that you've got to take it. And here's a $50,000 difference in income. And that was like on the water, earnings. And like, that's what I'm seeing also just in the opens between like, yeah, you cash a couple checks and you're like, okay, I just covered 3 or 4 of my tournaments. I'm good. And then you miss a check by 6 ounces. And if you're relying on it, it like completely changes the way you approach the next couple tournaments. And now I see how you get into this vicious cycle of doing just enough to survive to get to the next one and never get ahead. And it's like not a good way to live.
Well, what you don't see on the sheet, and this is what I talk about, is you don't see on the sheet that I broke down at 2 events. Doesn't show up. Because 5 years from now, nobody cares. After the event, nobody cares. You know who cares? My wife. My friends, my followers, my people, my boys, they care because, and you can attest to this, no matter what tournament you're fishing, you could be a Thursday nighter. You're going to get one of your boys say, dude, what happened? Why did you suck? And he's like, well, I had a brand new boat and I had 2 bad batteries straight off a pallet. So at Lake Murray, the day I had 3 fish, when you're sight fishing and you're stuck in a pocket, you can't move. You can't go run and gun herring stuff. You can't go, you catch every fish on a bed in a pocket and just fishing around. You catch small ones. You can't do anything. Well, it is what it is. At St. Lawrence, I ran out of gas there. Funny story on that is people that made a really, really, really long run, there was gas. If you just made a really long run, there was gas, but it was illegal to get because it's in Canada.
Oh.
So people don't see that because I'm passing gas stations right here, so I ran out of gas like 8-10 miles away from weigh-in coming in. And I'm seeing gas stations as I go. But if you parked your boat there and got gas or stopped in Canada waters, you're breaking the law. They could quarantine you for 14 days. They could take your boat, everything else. We were warned. And so what do? You stopping at gas on the U.S. side, the place didn't have any gas. You stop at another place, they're closed. What do? I mean, it's just the perils of it. And it just part of the deal. And you don't realize, again, you run down here, you fish for a while, and again, you made a long run. You run over here, and then you run over here 5 miles back to this spot. And you run 3 miles over here, and then you run over here, and here. Well, your gas gauges aren't 100% accurate most of the time. So, and you touched on it with the opens also. That's all business decisions. And that's why I have to decide, do I want to fish the opens to try and make the elites every year? Some of it has to do with scheduling, but you don't go into that thinking you're going to make money. You do it for the sole purpose of either saying, I'm trying to make the elites as a business decision, or I'm trying to make the classic, which is a bad business decision because you got to win. Or you got one at your home lake, you're jackpotting, and so your expenses aren't that high. But I'll give you something in perspective. Okay, the last time I fished the Costa, Toyota Series, whatever, to fish a full series was 2014, and I finished second in the points. I finished 23rd at Rayburn at the first event. That was the snow event that canceled a day. I slept in my own bed, and I lost money, and I finished 23rd. And I lost money at that event, sleeping in my own bed on a lake I didn't have to practice on very much because I know it like the back of my hand. Lost money. So it's all just business decisions. Now I finished second in another event and third in another, so I made money on the year for that deal. Lost one of those because of a dead fish penalty. But at the same time, it's just not money-making endeavors if you have to travel and send the expenses. Because I tell people, if you fish a BFL, high school event, college event, your expenses are the same as a tour level guys for going there. The only difference is I pay a bigger entry fee, but my payouts are a lot bigger. So if you travel and you pay a $1,500 entry fee and you get a check and you make $2,500, or your kid makes a high school championship or a college championship, and now you got to travel to Lake Hartwell, for example, and you're coming from Texas. It's going to cost you way more than what your kid is going to win, or you're going to win. You're going for bragging rights, or one of these national championships from a local circuit. You might go win a boat, but it's going to cost you $1,500. You have to look at it like, well, I'm doing this as a vacation. I want to go for the experience. I'm like, well, dude, I'm telling you right now, Mark touched on this. September is awful. October is awful on so many lakes in the South. You're not going to have a good time. Save that money and go up to Champlain or St. Clair and go have a good time. Go book with my buddy at and go to Mexico and go bass fishing. Go on a trip with me to Rayburn where we can go catch 50 to 100 on a lot of days. And we are going to have a great time, and you're going to spend a whole lot less money than you would going for that experience to not catch them and beat your head in.
All right, man. We really need to wrap this up because I'm back in school now. We can't go 2 hours like we have in the past. But there is one very interesting question, Clark, that Matt from Alabama, longtime fan, wants to ask you, and I've brought this subject up on the show. He wants to know what your feelings are about NFTs, and are NFTs going to have a place in fishing? What are your thoughts?
What's the NFT?
Exactly.
You don't know what an NFT is. Okay,
exactly.
well, we'll go from there.
Way. It's like a
I don't
it's
know
like
what
a JPEG that they're
like,
trying to add value to. It'd be like you're selling a picture of like a picture of you running down the lake, and it's like the NFT of Clark Reehm going down the lake, and then you're the only person who has the rights to it. Is that a fair assessment, Mark?
That's in the ballpark. That's in the ballpark.
Okay, so here's my assessment on that. Okay, as a pro angler, what we value more than anything is not baits. Yes, we all have sentimental baits and everything else. Waypoints are currency. Because information, waypoints are time and money. That could be the next NFT because, guides sell waypoints, pros throw waypoints to their buddies, everything else. But, and y'all have heard stories of tour level guys paying local hammers big bucks for waypoints back when they could get information and stuff. Kentucky Lake is one that gets thrown around. There's a lake in Oklahoma names were thrown around for a tour event at Fort Gibson. Realistically, people pay me for waypoints at different times because they can't come to a guide trip like for the Sealy tournament or something like that. But I think that has more value as a tradable commodity in pro fishing than anything else. But with the information out there right now and all these live streaming deals, it's not hard to pinpoint. And how many times has a guy frozen his DVR and like, that's not a DT10. That's a OSD Blitz he's throwing. And I see the cell phone tower over there, and I know that dock. You line up with this. There's an osprey nest over there. And guys are figuring a lot of this stuff out. So the secrets are no longer there. But I still think waypoints would be the next NFT that we're going to deal with in the fishing industry. So that would be my take on it.
All right, man. Matt and I have had that heated discussion in previous shows about the whole blue dots thing. In fact, comment on the YouTube comments. Here we go again. Blue dots.
No, we're not getting into that.
We're not getting into it. We're not going down that.
You Jeffries, at least you took the blue dots off the back of your computer screen.
I did. Hey, Clark, man, just some eye-opening stuff for a lot of people out there, and I hope people really benefit from your thoughts and your theories in this game that you've been involved with and have been able to succeed over a large number of years.
Oh, I appreciate it. And if I can make one plug for my YouTube channel, it's Elite Angler Academy. That's also my website, eliteangleracademy.com. If you're interested in going on a catching trip at Sam Rayburn or wanting to learn, it's a great opportunity. I'm doing some video series now on YouTube where I'm breaking down a local lake here. I'm about to have some guys come and do some Bassmaster down the lake type stuff, but with a different twist. In fact, Pangrak, if you got an open invite to come down and break down some water, love for you and Holman to come down and tag team something. Not fish against each other.
That would be awesome.
Mutual
We've
deal.
been talking about needing to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lake here that's 30 minutes from the house that I'm actually using Insight Genesis right now to graph. There's no map. So I'm actually going through, charting it out, taking screen captures on the Lowrance unit, and I'm about to start posting all these videos as I break down the water, how I'm going about doing it, because that's what people want to see. They don't want to see how to tie an FG knot. They don't want to see that little rigging deal. They don't want to see this same tournament result video recap. They were looking for fresh content to learn. And if you check out Elite Angler Academy on YouTube, you're going to see a lot of this content pop up. What I'm seeing on the side imaging, me talking through what I'm actually looking for, breaking it down. You know, that is the wave of the future also for learning or classes like that.
All right, man. Great stuff. Good to see you again. Good to talk to you. And we'll get you back on soon, Clark. So best of luck to you, man.
Well, y'all know I'm a talker, so there's no telling what's going to come out of my mouth circa 2011. You know, but I do have a track record of saying some other things too. But it's, again, people value honesty.
You can quote them on that.
Yeah, quote them on it. All right, man. Take care, Clark.
And honestly, I think that's what kept me from going back to the elites whenever they had the restructuring as well. But, you know, I'm happy. So it's all good.
All right, man. Stay safe, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See ya. There you have it, Clark Reehm. Kind of eye-opening there, Matthew.
Yeah, I didn't have any idea what direction that was going to go in. Not like depressing or anything, just like that's the reality of it. And I think you find that that's the reality of it in a lot of – I mean, is that the reality of it in bowling?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, in any of those sports that don't have, you know, the billions and millions of people that are following it, like a golf or something where you can be one of the guys that makes the wheel turn, but not a 1%er.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's just a cool insight on how to survive in a sport that's hard to survive in.
Yeah, I was trying to recall as he was going through a lot of the stuff that he was talking about. There's a term in the bowling world. The term is backer. Everybody has a backer. Have you ever heard that term in the fishing industry?
Like
I've got a backer. In other words, it's kind of
expenses.
Yeah, it's kind of interchangeable with sponsor. It's just in bowling there is no sponsoring. You're basically just backing him.
You got a rich dude who's like, oh, this guy's chasing his dream. I wish I could chase my dream, but I decided to do it in the corporate world, so I'll kind of live vicariously through him.
Yep. And the term backer happens a lot. The other thing that takes place, and I know there's been some guys out in the bass fishing world that have tried this, is they sell shares. Do you remember that?
Well, yeah, I'm the one who did the story on that the first time ever was when James Biggs did it, when the Forest Wood Cup was on the actually the Red River. Biggs wanted to fish the FLW Tour, and he basically got people that invested in him based on the percentage of his entry fees and expenses with no promise to get their money back. But every time he cashed a check or made money, he then redistributed that money that those people had invested into him. Yeah. And then, you know, he basically, once he reached a threshold, he would make money then. So he missed the cup, I believe, that year by like a point, but he broke even, was able to repay all of his investors and, you know, basically fish for free. So he lost money if you're doing it on an hourly deal, but it was called Buying Bigs, I think was the name of the article that I did. And you literally, he broke himself down into shares and how much each share was.
Hey, whatever works, man. Whatever works. Sometimes you have to do drastic things to be creative. But basically the thing was, they were betting on, hey, we might not get our money back. We'll most likely get our money back. But if he had gone down and won the Forest Wood Cup, then they would have doubled, tripled their investment. Yeah. Rolling the dice. Yep. Anyway, it's interesting, too, the what I call the 10%ers. It doesn't matter what it is. The 10%ers, they're always at the forefront. Mm-hmm. All right. Not only in the deposit line when they're going to the bank, but with all the media, with all the exposure, it just seems like the 10% people that are making the money are the ones that are really getting the exposure. And for a grinder like Clark to be able to survive and have a decent living doing what he's doing. It says a lot for all the people like Clark out there that continue to do this game, but have found a niche to generate revenue outside.
Over $500,000 in earnings. I mean, the guy freaking catches them. You look at his Angler of the Year finishes on the tour of the last 8 years. He's got multiple top 40 finishes and a lot of Forest Wood Cup qualifications. So
yeah, but what you have to remember, Matt, that's over 15 years. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah, but I mean, he's also not fishing tournaments where you're getting checks every tournament.
Yeah, but do the math.
A lot more than $500,000 that you couldn't earn. I'm not saying it's.
I know, but I'm saying do the math. I think
we out-talked our.
That's all right. I think that a lot of people look at those career earnings and they don't do the math.
No, I'm doing the math. I'm just saying he can catch them pretty dang good too, because you don't just reach 500,000. I don't care how long it takes you if you don't know how to wet a line.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, wrap things up here on a Wednesday. Everybody stay tuned.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us. But none of them knew us.
None of them were us.
Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone Lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone Lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite. Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking digging. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
There's one.
You know what works. Now you need a bunch of them so you don't run out on your next fishing trip. The Big Bite Pro Packs feature 25 baits per pack at a price far below that of having to buy 5 packs of regular baits. Now the Pro Pack has a big brother, the Mega Pack. The Mega Pack features 100 of your favorite baits.
With these, one bag is usually plenty to get through the day. It helps me stay organized, helps me save money, helps me catch more fish.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro, Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duckett Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action as a crankbait, especially like a square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
All right, we are back, closing out Wednesday. Want to thank Clark Reehm for taking time out to be on the show. Some real eye-opening stuff there from Clark. All right, man, a lot of well wishes today, Matthew. Today's your birthday. Happy birthday, man. People want to know what you got planned.
Thank you. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Can you say how old you are?
I wore the festive shirt for the birthday. So
yeah.
How
old are you? I don't even know how old you are.
37.
Oh, you're pushing 40, my friend.
No, I got over 1,000 days before I hit that mark.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
No, man. So happy birthday, and hopefully the birthday well wishes and everything that you got going up the remainder of this year will come to fruition, and good things will happen when you head back toward New York and see how things develop. I'm really curious, what month is the Grand Lake event in September?
October.
It's in October. So depending on what kind of weather we have, I am really intrigued by that event, not only because it's in Oklahoma, but I know how that lake fishes in the early fall. And
it sucks.
Yeah, you're going to see some guys really struggle. And
that's my saving grace right there.
You're going to see some guys that figure something out. And really, it's neat to see some things get dialed in, especially when you have a lot of history and a lot of knowledge of that lake that you're just like, you sit back and go, wow, I never knew that. How do you figure that out? So we'll see. A lot of people on that body of water, a lot of people with a lot of history on that body of water. But You're right, dude. October, it gets difficult sometimes on that body of water. So we'll see. All right, man, what else? Anything else? No birthday plans? I thought maybe you had this big, huge porterhouse steak that you were going to throw on the smoker or the pellet grill.
Do that. I'm probably going to go do that. I'm probably going to go get a piece of meat and smoke it for about 2.5 hours.
That's a celebration right there, man.
Yeah.
Porterhouse. You ever had a porterhouse?
Yeah. I'm a ribeye guy.
The ribeye guy.
Yeah, I need to learn how to do a prime rib. I don't know. I haven't not ever cooked a prime rib.
Yeah.
But a tomahawk bone-in ribeye would be like a once or twice a year deal there. Because I'm like kind of with Clark on the surviving thing, so we don't get to do the bone-in tomahawk very often.
Yeah, we're having prime rib tonight. The side is ramen. No, it's all good, man. Hey, it was really cool that you brought up that story. I do remember that. Everybody was kind of going nuts behind the weighing stage.
It was
situation
an awesome
with Clark.
deal. But I remember we had that. I feel like you had that newspaper article in the office you're currently in, and we found it like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But I just remember it was like a big homecoming for the production company, right? That was based right there in Little Rock, and was Bass's headquarters wasn't in Little Rock at that time, was it?
No, it was in Florida. It was still during the ESPN days, I believe.
In 2011, but it was like one of Denny's last. It was like his last tournament year.
Yeah.
And he was like super grouchy. I can't remember, like there were a bunch. That was when I think the E-Techs were having major issues. And do you remember they like held the lock up for Denny so he could get through, and a bunch of guys, and Aaron was right outside the takeoff, like drop shotting the bridge pilings, but it was right there in Little Rock. I just remember that. And it was a pain in the ass to get to, and the guys were not happy about it.
Yeah.
And Clark was like, this is a total cluster, and you can quote me on that. And they put it like right at the start, like Clark Reehm, blah, 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 was not pleased with it. It's a total cluster, and you could quote me on that. And then it went into like how upset Denny was, and it was like one of the greatest articles in the history of competitive fishing that had ever been written. And it was like a full page on the front, and I just remember Jerry being not a happy camper.
Oh, he was livid.
It's a great part of history. I would love to see. I think you've got that newspaper article, because I remember we were both there, and you saved the article. You were like, I've never seen anything like this.
I know. I'll take a peek and see if I can find it in that stack that's in the corner back in the office. Yeah, I'll see if I got it. All right, man, good stuff. Tomorrow, day 4 with Frank. We've got pictures. We've got, wait till you see the dirt that I have on Frank, Matthew. It's pretty good.
You got some dirt?
I got some pictures, man.
That was cool that Clark gave him a shout out.
Yeah. I've got some pictures of Frank as a young lad catching some fish.
With hair?
Lots of hair, man.
Really?
Catching carp, of all things.
Nice.
I actually sent it to him. I go, is this you? And he goes, oh, yeah. So we're going to flash that up tomorrow. So Frank Scalish, day 4 tomorrow. And then we'll be back next week. We got Seth Fighter next week, right? Is that right?
Correct. And then we're also doing an on-location show from a media event up in Wisconsin.
That's on Tuesday, right? Tuesday or
Wednesday
Wednesday?
evening, yes.
Okay. All right, sounds good, man. Great stuff. Everybody out there, be safe. That is it on a Wednesday. We're out of here.